I opened it first.
It went from 3 to 0. I wasn't ready.
I even asked, are you ready?
My screen didn't refresh.
God damn it. Welcome to Movie Boners, everybody.
Welcome to Movie Boners.
Snoogans.
Snoochie booches. So, welcome to Movie Boners. As we always do, we're going to talk about our beers that we just opened.
Yep.
I am drinking a limited release from Avery Brewing Company in Boulder, Colorado. It's called Oh Shit. It's not called Oh Shit. I just spilled. So I rotated the can. I rotated the can so I could look at it, and then the hole ended up on this side over there, and I tilted it and made a mess. But
the beer is not called Oh Shit.
My beer is called Paws and Claws IPA. It's a hazy and dank India Pale Ale.
Nice.
And it's got a lobster and a bear on it.
There you go.
I couldn't find any walrus-themed ones.
Oh,
so
really?
That's the only animals I could do.
But going for beers that either have like a marijuana theme or a hazy theme or
comic books.
I was very excited to find mine because it fits my favorite one so well.
Okay.
I went with the home state, so I am drinking an Odell beer called Good Behavior.
Nice.
And it fits because
that's your favorite.
It's my favorite.
That's a good one.
It's so tasty. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's a classic one. Yeah, mine's pretty good too. I don't know. It is. I would say it's definitely hazy. I don't know if I would say it's dank, but it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Wandering Lion Studios, for the beer, and
go check them out. Wandering Lion
check them
Studios.
out.
Stop is.
Did you try their Trivia Thursday?
I did. Remind me what it was, because that was like... I haven't seen today's.
Oh, you haven't?
Today is Thursday for people that...
right, we're recording on Thursday. The episode will come out on Sunday.
Hold on, let me go look.
Wandering Lions does Movie Mondays and Movie Trivia Thursday.
Movie Madness Mondays, get it right.
Madness, thank you. Sorry, Dick. The trivia is the one that I usually get real excited for every Thursday morning. Of all the ones that I have guessed, I've only gotten one wrong so far. Their trivia this morning was awesome because it was one where I was like, that's one of my favorite tidbits. I know the answer. I'm not telling you, but participate in their stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Is it the Walkman tidbit or the 16 foreign language tidbit?
The foreign language one. I love that tidbit. Love that tidbit. That's like dedication, especially if you know the line.
Yeah.
Just having to do that.
It's convenient to do when you only have a couple of lines and you can learn 16 different languages for it.
Right.
Or
right.
read it off a piece of paper. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty impressive.
But I think that's pretty cool. Check them out. They do a lot of work and help for independent artists. So if you have a script or a film that you want like an opinion on, check these guys out. They're great at what they do.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun, and they're kind of all over the place. Not just film, but they like to promote authors and illustrators and everybody.
Yeah, it's really like independent artists, the creative arts. Like
for sure,
get a hold of them. They know their stuff. So.
Yeah.
Thank you, gents, for the beer, and
yeah.
And
I think that on the topic of most successful independent films of all time, that kicked off massive careers for several people,
and created like almost its own subgenre of cult classics.
Yeah,
which, if you haven't guessed by the shirt or the little lines from earlier, we're deep diving today into the career of Kevin Smith.
Yep.
Now, I've been a big fan of his for a long time. I think I was a fan of his before maybe even you started watching his movies. That might be a guess.
I mean, I had seen several of his movies, but I didn't I didn't really like. I wouldn't say I was a fan. I liked a couple. I had seen only a handful, and so I've been catching up this week so that I can talk about them all.
Yeah. Yeah, I know his movies are not for everyone. He knows his movies are not for everyone, which is probably one of my favorite things, because he always jokes about, like, yeah, I've made some shitty movies, but they're fun for me and my friends, and people seem to enjoy them, so we just keep doing it.
Yeah. And
now he's, like, one of the biggest dudes. He does all the IMDb award show stuff. He's huge.
He's one of the biggest podcasters. Ironically, he started in film but became a podcaster with Smodcast, and then has like a podcast empire. I haven't really listened to Smodcast, but I've listened to Fat Man on Batman and like all kinds of stuff that he does. Everything nerdy, and that might be one of the things that really appeals. All of his movies somehow have like a comic book tie to it. A character might be obsessed with comic books, or Stan Lee, or just nerd culture in general. Yeah, famous movie lines. Yeah, especially Jaws. Jaws gets mentioned a lot. Actually, a fair statement would be Steven Spielberg films get quoted a lot. Yeah, for sure. Star Wars gets quoted or reenacted. Yeah. Almost every movie. Star Wars is a huge one. Comics are a huge one. Batman's a huge thing. He's just a massive nerd who loves all the things. A lot of things we love. Yeah, and that's definitely an appeal for me. The dialogue in his movies is so interesting to me because it's so vulgar, but at the same time, and he uses some like. Is he just ripping words out of the dictionary? Like, he saw a huge word and was like, that's going in this argument. Yeah. But I do find myself sometimes with, like, a rant that Randall goes on or something where I'm like, oh, I kind of get it. Biggest one is, don't get me wrong, folks, I love The Lord of the Rings. It was, like, our top fantasy stuff, It's incredible film series. Randall's summary of the whole trilogy might be the most accurate summary of a trilogy ever. Not to take anything away from it, but when he finishes it, I really do feel like I'm the other guy eating the movies burger thinking, fucking A, man. He does a good job of boiling down all kinds of things, from fantasy to movies to religion, and picking out truths that everybody, regardless of if you like it or don't like it or believe in it or don't believe in it, kind of can understand and agree with. Yeah. And I like that. I think it makes it real and beneficial and relevant and kind of valuable. Yeah, I really, really like the way his characters tend to always feel like people you would know. Whether you would be friends with those people or not, but you would know these people. You would, like, I've had arguments like that. I've had conversations kind of like that. Like, this is goofy. My personal favorite of his, ironically, is the one about religion. So Dogma is my favorite. This was... And we'll get into it when we start going to it. But in terms of, like, making subject matter, whether you believe in it, agree with it, whatnot, his summary of it and how he boils things down, I think Dogma does such a great job of doing that, especially with such a hot topic as religion. Right. And we'll get more into that, but I love Kevin Smith. And he's not one that I recommend to a lot of people, though, unless I know their sense of humor is a lot like mine. Right. And then I can be like, you'll probably enjoy his stuff. Because he's 50-something-year-old man who still writes, toilet humor. Right. And weak jokes. As I was watching it, I was thinking of a lot of parallels between him and our Adam Sandler episode. Right. Where he meets people, decides to put them in every movie he does from now on. So he has all of his friends in his these movies. Everybody's getting paid. Very kind of immature, but also really like deep and serious moments also, and just kind of fun, usually fun.
Yeah. Especially in like, well, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Let's kick it off.
Okay.
So, should we just go in order?
Let's go in release order. So obviously the big one, the cult classic that everybody talks about.
The all-time cult classics that
Yeah.
is not for everybody.
Right.
You gotta be. This is a very I don't recommend the first Clerks to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because it's so vulgar and it's so different of a movie.
Yeah, it's definitely a different kind of movie. Not only is it shot in black and white, but it's extremely conversational. It's just like a day in the life of these guys. They happen to have kind of a weird life, and weird, funny things happen to them, and they have an interesting and funny perspective on the things that are happening. But most of the movie's just people talking. Not a lot, too much happens. But for a first movie, it's pretty insane that he can write and direct this movie that becomes so popular. I think a big part of it, like you said, it's not for everybody, and I think a lot of people like that fact. A lot of people that I know who are big Clerks fans, they kind of like feeling like, oh, you wouldn't get it. It's just it's on the cult side of cult classic for sure.
It really is. I don't know that I would say I approach it in that exact sense of oh, you just won't get it.
Mm-hmm.
I really approach it with the moment you meet Randall, you'll probably hate this movie because Randall is such a vulgar character.
That's the moment that it gets most interesting for me.
Right now, I love Randall.
Yeah. So full disclosure, I had not seen Clerks. I have had it. I have always meant to get around to watching it. So I finally got around to watching it this week, and Clerks 1 and Clerks 2. And yeah, I was watching. I was okay, this is cute. This is fun and quaint and interesting. And then as soon as you start getting into Randall and Jay, I think between the two of them, they're the most vulgar, ridiculous people. But also, they kind of bring a lot of life to the movie, for sure.
Yeah, the introduction, I mean, and it really, Clerks blew up the View Askew universe. Yeah. Which is the Jersey saga that Kevin Smith has, I think there's only 3 movies of his that don't take place in the Jersey saga.
I was keeping track as I was watching them. I think it is 3. I think you're right.
Yeah, because Jersey Girls doesn't. Cop Out does not. And Red State.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if Tusk does or not, so it might be 4.
I know it could be tangentially because the kid is from Jersey and he has moved to LA.
It does because of the 2 girls at the
well, that ties into Yoga Hosers, yeah. Which
is also tied to the universe thanks to Jay and Silent Bob reboot. So
okay, there you go. Yeah. He's kind of, and it's the next movie will tie the last one in, so it's retroactively.
Right, right.
It gets weird.
Yeah, when I first saw Clerks, it was not the first one of his that I saw. The first one I saw was actually Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Okay. That was my introduction to Kevin Smith. And we'll get into that. Yeah. But I'll never forget my one of my cousins had Clerks, and he was he made some joke about 37, and it went way over my head.
In a row? That joke made me laugh out loud. It was the first time in the movie I laughed out loud when he's my girlfriend sucked 37 dicks, and that one guest is in a row? Oh, made me laugh.
Yeah, and so obviously when the joke went over my head, my cousin was like, you need to sit down, we're watching Clerks.
Yeah.
And I was so, the first bit of it, I was so like, what is this movie about? Is this really just about this guy having to work on his day off and just hating everybody and everything?
Yep.
Yes.
Pretty
yes,
much.
it is.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, then I started catching on to the dialogue, and then Jay and Silent Bob are introduced. And you're like, what the fuck are these two guys?
Yeah.
And like, when Jay starts ranting about all the deviant acts he wants to do, and he starts like miming giving head, and then he smacks Silent Bob. Ew, I'm not gay. I love women. Like, you really don't get how funny the character of Jay is until you have watched him in all of the movies and been like, oh, he's just a parody of himself and obnoxious guys everywhere. Like, you really catch on to that the further into the whole saga you get. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then Randall, the scene that I don't know if it's my favorite, but the scene that makes me just like, oh my god, is where Randall is ordering new videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
The titles of those videos, I'm like, man, those titles can make anyone blush. Because, damn.
Yeah. Yeah. As there's a mom who's trying to order a video for her little kid, and it's like, what was the name of that video that you wanted?
Right.
Yeah. It's really funny.
Yeah, when it ended, I was like, it was funny because the first time I saw Clerks, I enjoyed it, but I was like, I don't know if I see quite the hype. But over the years, Clerks has been one of those that just like, I go back to it a lot. It's still not my favorite of his, but it's very like, I appreciate it more and more the older I get, which might be reverse. But like,
yeah, I could certainly see that. I think that noticed that I was watching it. As I was watching it, I was just getting more and more comfortable. It's just kind of a comfortable. Maybe that's a weird statement about me, but I found it to be like interestingly comfortable to be watching.
It's the kind of, I mean, Dante is that character. He's you. He's me.
Yeah. The everyman.
If you've ever had to go to work on your day off, everything bad will happen on that day.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, Dante's a sleaze. He's a piece of shit. He really is, and you learn that halfway through the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you still, like, you relate to him so much because you think to yourself, man, if I had to work on my day off and I got left with all the bullshit, I would probably come to a moment of, like, fuck this. I'm going to do something I want to do, and the job's just going to have to get over it.
Yeah.
Might not be playing hockey on the roof, but
right. Shutting down
it
the
could
whole
be
store.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a lot of interesting conversations in it, and this is kind of, I think, the beauty of Kevin Smith's writing, which is, like you said, finding like interesting or new things about Lord of the Rings or about Star Wars. They had this whole conversation about why Empire is better than Jedi, but it's from a perspective you've never heard. Like I've heard
right.
so many people talk about how Empire is better than Jedi, but not because in Jedi they blow up the Death Star and it has all of these innocent contractors on it.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy, but I get it.
Yeah, and then there just happens to be a private contractor buying cigarettes.
Yeah.
Who tells him, oh, personal politics totally play into how you take a job. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
fuck those contractors on the Death Star.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really funny. And I think I kind of didn't get around to it partly because I thought it was going to be very art housey. Like, obviously it's black and white. There are title cards. It's like, it felt art housey. But the more I watched it and the more vulgar it got and the more ridiculous it got, I was like, this is kind of like a satire about art house movies in a way. It's or it's making art house relevant for normal people. I don't know, but it is a cool thing, and I'm glad it exists.
Yeah, and a lot like my love for Evil Dead with Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi, I have a huge respect for Kevin Smith. He made Clerks with like no money at all. He had to sell his comic book collection just to help finance some of the movie. And then he could only film, so that convenience store, the Quick Stop, he worked there while filming.
Oh, nice.
But he could only film while the store was closed, so he would have to work a full shift, close everything down, film what he could, sleep for like an hour or two, and then start the whole next day.
Yeah. Is that why the windows are stuck closed? Because it's nighttime outside?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Actually.
That makes total sense.
For the lighting purposes. And so everything you see happen in the movie all had to be cleaned up and put back exactly where it had been before he could open the store again. And that scenario also ends up playing a part in a movie Kevin Smith made later on, and we'll get to that farther down the line. But I have a huge respect for Kevin Smith because he wanted to make movies. He wanted to hang out with his friend, a lot like the Adam Sandler, like you pointed out. It's just, I have a high respect for that. And the fact that because of Clerks, he's become like the movie guy. I mean, any kind of nerd movie that gets announced or made, everyone a part of that movie is like, okay, we need Kevin Smith to like either watch this or be on the set with us. We need his stamp of approval.
He did the whole virtual red carpet for Batman versus Superman. No, for Zack Snyder's Justice League, I mean. Yeah. He's always doing something. He's literally living the dream. He's a total dork who likes all of these dorky things, but not only wanted to make a movie, successfully made a movie, and it catapulted him into living the dream, where he is getting to meet Stan Lee and getting to like be friends with all of these people that he has always wanted to like hang out with.
Right. It's crazy how this one just 90-minute film or however long Clerks is. Yeah. That's all dialogue. Like, cheaply made, just catapulted him. Yeah. Which is funny to say, though, because then if you look at, like, movie grosses that he's had, they don't make a lot of money at the box office, but they become, I mean, the fan base is just massive and passionate. They're like, I'm a big fan of his, but I have met some Kevin Smith fans that, like, holy crap, guys. Yeah. You really... And no judgment. I mean, you become a fan of someone and you invest in that, that's okay. I mean, that's cool. As long as you don't go, like, stalker scary style. But.
Right. Yeah, I think it's interesting that he kind of chose to gear everything towards people like him. Obviously, he writes what he knows, writes all about Jersey, writes all about comic books and movies. And so it's interesting that he gears it very much. His whole movie universe is like comic books, where it's all tied in. It's all kind of self-referential. Every movie kind of comments on a previous movie, and all the characters are recurring and coming back. And so he definitely, I think, knows what he's doing. He's not trying to be relevant for everybody. He just is trying to give the people that like it more of what they like, I guess, which is cool.
Yeah. It is cool. And it is funny because then he ends up like making fun of himself a lot. Yeah. Especially with later movies.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And I think when he does try to branch out into mainstream Hollywood things and it doesn't work, he's...
Cop out when looking at you.
Yeah. He's smart enough to go, yeah, that was a piece of shit. Why would I do that? What the hell was I doing? Let's go back to doing what I know.
Yep. Oh, cop out. Did you watch it?
Oh, I watched all of these movies.
Okay. Oh, cop out.
Yeah.
We'll get into it later. Well, should we move on to Mallrats?
Let's move on to Mallrats.
All right. So Mallrats, I love Mallrats.
Me too.
In terms of like, it's a comic book. I mean, it feels like a comic book movie. It has an actual plot to it. The dialogue is a lot of fun, and
it's more of a movie. Yeah,
and it's crazy how within just that, it being his second film, how much you can see writer development and how he's doing it, and directing development. It's really cool. It's almost like his entire career has just been him practicing, if you kind of think about it.
Oh, for sure.
Which is kind of fun.
Yeah, it's fun to... I haven't watched the movies in order since we did the Tarantino episode.
Okay.
And so I did that this time, and you can definitely see the growth as he's going. And I thought that was actually really fun and worth doing. It's also really fun because every movie gets made fun of later, so you don't want to watch them out of order or skip any. Like, even the ones I don't like, I like some of the jokes later on about that movie, so it all works out.
Mallrats is also funny because it does not take place in Jersey. It takes place in Minnesota.
I missed that.
So the whole movie takes place at Eden Prairie Mall.
Yeah.
Which... I've been to that mall.
Oh, for real?
Yes.
That's awesome.
So every time I watch it, I'm like, meh, I've been there.
That's awesome.
It also cracks me up, like, the tie-in why Mallrats still fits into the View Askew universe is a couple characters. So you've got Jay and Silent Bob show up, and they're like, planning on sabotaging this TV show before they get asked to sabotage the TV show.
Right.
But they just happen to be in Minnesota still selling weed. They just aren't in Jersey at the moment.
Yeah.
And then you've got the introduction of a Kevin Smith favorite, and that's Jason Lee as Brody. Jason Lee is so fucking funny.
Yeah, I love him in everything. He's amazing. He's so funny in everything, and especially in this. Every time he's worked with Kevin Smith, I'm like, yes, it's Jason Lee. Yeah,
he might be him, and like, well, there's all of them. I get excited about all of them, but the introduction of Brody is fantastic. He's got that interaction with Stan Lee, which is one of the most fun scenes. Yeah, it's an interesting movie. Kind of several of Kevin Smith's movies follow this theme, which is about guys that have trouble with their relationships. And I mean, Clerks is kind of about that. Dante has issues with two different relationships. He doesn't know how to choose. And then Brody has an issue with his relationship. Frickin'. What the fuck kind of name is T.S.? Like, the main character's name is T.S. And I don't know what that even means, but it makes me laugh every time. And everybody says it to him with a straight face. I'm like, you're calling him T.S.? Dude, if I ever came up to you and was like, hey, J.L. I can't even do that.
It has to be like, his real name is so obnoxiously difficult to pronounce, they just shorten it as much as possible. It's probably like Thaddeus Soliloquy or some shit.
Something like that. And
it's there was a funny joke in Mallrats when they go to like the flea market area, and they're like just looking at junk, and they put on the Clerks like hat, like just one of those basic production hats that everybody gets. It's pretty funny.
Which I didn't realize this until this week, as I was really diving into like all the production notes and all that. Mallrats actually takes place one day before Clerks.
Oh, really?
Right.
How's that work?
That's just what the production said.
How did Jay and Silent Bob get all the way from Minnesota back to Jersey
within a day?
Yeah, like overnight.
Well, At that point in time, they are still allowed to fly. So I'm assuming they are still allowed to. They don't. They don't get put on the no-fly list until after Strikes Back. So.
Yeah. All right. Good point.
Thanks to the clit. But,
the clit's not real. Everybody knows that.
Sorry. It's just, Jay's video from that just ran through my head. But yeah, Mallrats, like... Mallrats is one of those movies where after you watch it and you would go to a mall, you really find yourself like, oh my god, Mallrats is so accurate.
Yeah.
Just the mindless wandering. You have the argument of what's in the food, what constitutes as the food court or not.
Yeah.
What store do you want to go to? Only douchebags work at that store. Ben Affleck's character is such a piece of shit.
Introduces Ben Affleck to the whole movie universe.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my god, he's such a douchebag in this movie.
Yeah. Mallrats is a lot of fun. And I feel like especially for people our age who actually knew what malls were and how they worked in the 80s, it's like... It's a really fun movie. It's probably in my top 4 of his movies, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just one. When I watched it, I mean, when I started really getting into Kevin Smith's movies, I did not watch them in order for a long time. In fact, I actually didn't watch them in order until after I bought all of them, and then I thought, oh, maybe I should do that. And like you said earlier, it's so much better to do that with his movies. I mean, you can watch them out of order, like one-offs.
For sure.
But if you want a marathon, you really do want to watch it in order to catch all the like character references or the jokes about the previous movie or a couple movies that happened earlier. And Mallrats just really starts setting that kind of writing up with the Clerk's hat or, you know, Jay and Silent Bob's just general demeanor. Brody is a key character in this universe.
He ends up owning Brody's comics and is basically a surrogate for Kevin Smith, who had the secret stash. He has the secret stash comic shop. He's Brody's stash comic shop in several movies later on.
Yeah, but Mallrats is it's always been one of those. It's just fun. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it is.
I can't help but chuckle every time I see chocolate-covered pretzels. Every time it's just like, ooh.
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
Yeah.
And I love the whole idea of this dating show being put on in a mall. And all the lengths that these guys are all going to try and sabotage it. It's just... so ridiculous. You've got Silent Bob trying to Jedi mind trick stuff. You've got him trying to do the Batman way.
Yeah. Yeah, his bat suit is pretty cool.
That helmet that he wears, I'm like, that's a good helmet. It's a real good helmet.
It's a pretty awesome helmet, actually. So... the only last thing I had for Mallrats was, I really like Ethan Suplee's character, who's just standing
trying
in front,
to see the picture,
standing in front of that like Magic Eye poster. I paused it to see if I could do it to figure out what it was, and it's definitely not a sailboat.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's like a bunch of random shapes, like stars and stuff.
One of the it's such an obvious joke to do, but it works so well, is when he's doing it, and the kids come up and they're like, ooh, it's a schooner! And he's like, ha, idiot, it's a sailboat! Schooner is a sailboat!
Yeah.
But I always chuckle because he's like, I packed a lunch, I've got my soda, and I'm not leaving until I can see this thing.
Yeah.
no. I can't even.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Mallrats is just... It's a lot better than it ever got credit in the 90s for.
Yeah.
I think it's like his lowest grossing film, but
Oh, really?
it's thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah.
Thoroughly.
Yeah, and I think people that maybe for people that Clerks didn't do it for, I think that Mallrats is certainly more mainstream. I think that you could find a lot to like in it.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So, movie number 3, Chasing Amy. How do you feel about that piece of shit?
Oh, you don't like Chasing Amy?
Dude, I thought I was liking it, and then the longer it goes, and mostly the end, I was like, what? This doesn't make any goddamn sense. What the fuck is going on? So I think it's the one I like the least. I don't like it really at all.
It's so funny that you say that. When I first saw Chasing Amy, I hated it.
Interesting.
Absolutely hated it. In fact, I hated it for a long time. It was my least favorite of Kevin Smith's.
Okay, so that's where I'm at.
And then the last couple years, really, it's not one of my favorites, but I definitely enjoy it way more now. But there are a couple scenes in the movie that every time they come up, I'm like, ugh, I just hate this scene.
Yeah.
The Ben Affleck's proposition towards the end, hate that scene.
That's the part that ruins it because it's so counter character for me. Like I don't understand, and I can't put myself in the place where I would begin to understand how this character would think that that's the solution to this situation. It doesn't make any sense to me. He completely ruins 2 of his best relationships. Maybe it's intentional, maybe it's sabotage, I don't know. But it doesn't make any sense, and I think that it's stupid.
Yeah. So even now, even though I like Chasing Amy, that scene is still the scene. Every time it comes up, I'm like, ugh. It does feel out of place.
Yeah.
The other scene is their like breakup in the parking garage after he finds out that she like the meaning behind her high school nickname and how overly jealous he gets and like freaks out and all that. Their whole argument in that parking lot or parking garage, wherever it is, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Because my brain definitely keeps reverting back to like that part is in the past, so what does that have to do with anything you guys are doing now?
Right.
But I go off and on. Sometimes it really annoys me, sometimes it doesn't. More times than not, that scene kind of bothers me just because I feel like it. I feel like that fight was only put in the movie just to serve as like, well, I need them to break up, so I'll have him freak out over this. Yeah,
and it is a little cliche to have essentially a romance movie where they, fall in love, fight, break up, fall back in love, kind of.
Right.
So that's definitely a cliche, but I think that it's difficult to watch because you get the impression that he's sabotaging his relationship. He's trying to find a reason to get out of it and makes this past issue bigger than it actually needs to be.
Yeah.
And so that's annoying, I guess.
For me, besides those 2 scenes, I enjoy the movie for the most part, minus those couple parts.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, though, is when they go to what is it called? The lesbian club.
Yeah.
Meow something.
Yeah.
That scene I love simply because of Jason Lee.
Yeah.
The way he plays that whole scene is so good.
Yeah.
When he realizes that it's like a lesbian bar and how
Yeah.
excited he is about it, not because he's around a whole bunch of lesbians,
Yeah.
but because he gets to see his best friend, who's been acting kind of douchey.
Yeah.
He gets to watch him just train wreck ethically.
He realizes it first and gets to know that the train is coming for his friend.
Right.
And gets to see the look on his face when he realizes.
And I love watching him walk up just smiling and loving what's happening.
Yeah.
I love that. Absolutely love that.
Yeah. Everything about Jason Liu's character is hilarious. He has a lot of funny jokes in it. He's the best part of it for sure.
And he also, I mean, it's kind of funny that Ben Affleck and Jason Lee end up playing two different characters in this universe, and both of their characters are kind of essential to the entire
Right.
View Askew universe. So
Yeah.
they're comic book artists. Banky is like the inker,
Yeah.
or as you
he's a
learn at
tracer.
the beginning of it, he's a tracer.
Yeah. You just trace stuff.
Like strangles a guy over it. But the movie itself, like I do enjoy it. I enjoy it more having watched the entire universe several times, because chasing Amy becomes so central
Yeah.
to so many parts throughout Kevin Smith's universe.
Right. Yeah, this is probably the primary case that I kind of alluded to before, where even though I don't like the movie at this point in my life, I'm glad that I watched it. I'm glad that I can get all the jokes later on about chasing Amy, and some heartfelt moments later on about chasing Amy.
Yeah, there's a couple, and this is also,
And it
I mean,
makes it
chasing
better.
Amy. Yeah. So Silent Bob, a running gag became he only says like one or two lines a movie. In Chasing Amy, he gets an entire monologue.
Yeah.
And his monologue is actually pretty. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a good it's a good like grounding
Right.
kind of monologue about love in general.
Yeah.
And it does, like you said, it does come back later on in the saga, but yeah, Chasing Amy was it took a while for that one to grow on me. So I'm curious to see if that ever happens for you.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it again later. Part of the problem is I honestly find her voice kind of annoying.
Okay, I was waiting to find out which one of us was going to say it first.
Joey Lauren Adams, and she's in Mallrats, but she just talks a lot and yells a lot and cries a lot in this movie, and her voice I don't like.
It
wears
the whole
on you.
scene, the rainstorm.
Yes.
Yep.
That's kind of like the nail in the coffin during the movie. Where you're like, you know what, I might be done with this.
It goes on for a while.
It does.
It really does.
Yeah,
It
she has
really does.
a lot to yell about, and it's a little intense. But I mean, I think the idea of the story is great, and that's partly why I'm so disappointed by the ending. I really like the idea of these two people. She's a lesbian. We didn't really talk about it. I'm sure you've seen it. We're going to spoil all these things, but she's a lesbian. Like she says she was a lesbian. She claims to be a lesbian like her whole life, and then things start coming out that maybe she wasn't a lesbian all the way. Maybe she's bi. Maybe she's whatever. Nowadays, it's very modern. Maybe she's pansexual. Who knows?
Now, just because it might be modern, a key thing for new people coming, especially younger generations coming into a Kevin Smith film, you are going to be offended.
Yes.
You are.
If you don't like hearing the F word, not that F word, the gay F word, you hear that. You're going to hear the R word. You're going to hear retarded. You're going to hear a lot of words. You're going to hear the C word. You're going to hear all the words.
Yeah. You're going to hear every word we're not supposed to say.
Yeah.
You hear them a lot in the Kevin Smith universe.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think that it's always done in a good way. I don't think it's ever done to just be offensive or flashy or over the top. I don't think it's ever done to be offensive. I think it's always done to be realistic and to be like, hey, you know what? These are just words. Every time people are called a F word, gay F word, they aren't really offended because it's a conversation between people who understand each other and know what they mean.
It feels like I chalk it up to this. Good friends always kind of converse in obscene ways sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm going to use you and Christy as an example.
That's fair.
Actually, I'm going to use Christy primarily as the example. So,
very fair.
Christy and I, very good friends.
Mm-hmm.
Been friends since you guys started dating however long ago.
Yep.
We're mean to each other.
Right.
Like, we can be vulgar to each other. You and I can be vulgar to each other.
And part of it is just funny to see what's the worst thing that you can come up with. Right.
But there's like that kind of communication between good friends, close acquaintances. There's always that mutual understanding, respect of like...
Right.
It's just... It's hard to explain. It's in fun.
There's a time and a place. There's a time and a place for everything. And so not all words should be banned forever. It's just that don't say them to strangers. Say them to people who know what you mean and that you're joking or that you're...
Well, it's such a...
It's not hateful.
The friendship between Banky and the gay comic book artist, the black guy, who is hilarious, by the way.
His character or persona is really funny, and then when he switches, it's really funny.
Their friendship is awesome because Banky, he uses the F word at him.
Yeah.
But in the same sentence, that character reverts back to like, oh, you're just saying this to me because you're like uncomfortable with your own sexuality.
Right.
You know, they get in this huge argument over Archie being gay or not.
Right.
To me, it's just, and that's the way all the dialogue in all of Kevin Smith's movies really end up being, is it's friends just being vulgar at each other because that's what friends do.
Right.
You can't really explain why we do it. You never even really realize when you start doing it.
Yeah.
It just kind of happens at one point, and everyone just sticks with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of beautiful in a way that you can be comfortable enough to let out the most fucked up, like, weird thoughts and not be judged. You're like, hey, have you ever thought about how this is a weird thing?
Right.
That I'm not going to say online because we will get canceled.
Yeah, and I feel like you've already... I mean, I'm not blaming you entirely, but...
Yeah.
I'm entirely blaming you.
That's fair.
See, that was a good moment, folks. See what I did there?
Yeah. You roasted me. Yeah, so Chasing Amy is pretty decent.
I would say it grew on me. I really did not like that movie for the longest time.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said earlier, I didn't start enjoying it until the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what clicked, but...
I think I'm probably in the minority. It seems like well reviewed online, well rated through IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, whatever. So people probably just get it, and I just don't, and that's okay.
And it might grow on you. Who knows?
But you know a movie I do like? Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Well,
Except
you skipped
Dogma. I like Dogma more. I skipped Dogma because I had scrolled too far.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
Dogma.
You know a movie I do like? Let's do this over. You know a movie I do like? Dogma.
There we go. Dogma is, I said it earlier, it's my favorite.
It happens to be the one I have on the screen right now.
Then we are watching the same movie.
It's hilarious. Yeah, it's my favorite also.
Dogma it's a home run for me. First time I saw it, it's one of those movies where I personally knew I was going to love the movie just from the very opening part, which is a disclaimer that goes from like, just take this for the joke it is,
Right.
and then it quickly goes to, sorry to the platypus fans out there, we didn't mean any disrespect.
Yeah. Also, don't want to offend the platypus fans. Also, don't want to offend anybody who's gonna take this too seriously.
Dogma is just, honestly, I would be a lot more open to organized religion if it was approached the way that Rufus tries to approach it in Dogma.
Right.
I feel the way all the characters are portrayed, all the angels, the Metatron,
Yeah.
like, the way they are portrayed to me is more meaningful and has more of an impact on how I feel I should live my life than anything that's been preached from a pulpit.
Yeah. I think that it has a really good overall message about the failings of religion and the dangers of belief in spite of anything. If you believe too hard, it gets the worst. It gets even worse. But that you can still have good ideas and have things that motivate you to be a better person and to treat people a certain way and to do certain things, without falling into all the negative stuff that comes with that.
Yeah. And I feel it's my favorite writing of Kevin Smith's, although it's not his best writing, because, like we said earlier, he seems to continuously be able to evolve and improve. But the writing in this movie is so fun.
Yeah.
Just how he put it together, how he came up with this whole idea, Dogma was like the first thing that he wrote.
Okay.
Before Clerks, but he didn't want to make Dogma until he had enough budget to properly do it.
Until he made friends with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Yeah, I get that.
Dogma, okay, so we grew up in the 90s, and Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were basically, to like our generation, the Good Will Hunting guys.
Right.
They make jokes about that in the Kevin Smith universe.
Yeah.
But Ben Affleck always kind of had like this weird, I don't know, I was never a fan of his.
Yeah.
In the 90s.
He always seemed
2000s.
like he took himself too seriously or something.
Right. But then you watch him in Dogma, and he's perfect. I love Ben Affleck. Like, he's so good. And him and Matt Damon, the fact that they're already known as being Hollywood's best buds.
Yeah.
Playing these two outcasted angels, trying to like capitalize on a loophole from a church.
Yeah. To get back into heaven.
It's so funny to me to see them act off of each other in this, especially if you watch Good Will Hunting before you watch Dogma.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I fucking love Dogma.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all that it's the first thing he wrote. It seems like the kind of thing that like part of the reason I like it is because it seems like it's the kind of thing that I would write or gravitate towards, where there's really good ideas in it. There's so many different things that get connected in it, and so it's kind of too perfect as far as, well, this connects and there are references to religions and references to characters and references to history and very deep cut biblical references, like
super deep cut. Like you have to dive deep into old school Catholicism.
Yeah.
Like you have to.
Yeah.
Because he mentions, I mean, there's some characters that are mentioned, Alan Rickman's in particular,
right,
who you see your general churchgoer probably doesn't even know what that character actually is.
Yeah, the voice of God, and it's just great on so many levels. And it's also so many of the things that I like in real life, where it's references so many movies, references so many, like the Salma Hayek plays the siren, and she is like a stripper. She's like doing a dance, but she basically is doing the similar dance in a similar outfit as the. Now I'm blanking on it, but the movie with Quentin Tarantino and George Clooney.
Yeah, From Dusk Till Dawn.
Dusk Till Dawn, yeah. And yeah, so that's great. Alan Rickman
using
is great.
her serendipitous powers to get extra money.
Yeah. And I love that he added George Carlin to his universe. George Carlin as the priest is like the best. He's
It's
so funny.
If you don't understand how awesome that irony is,
Yeah.
you need to go and watch old George Carlin stand-up.
Yeah.
He's pretty blunt on how he feels about the Catholic Church
Yep.
and
Yeah.
organized religion in general. So to see him play a cardinal who creates the Buddy Christ is so...
Yeah. He's rebranding Catholicism to be more modern and relevant. And it's hilarious.
So I had to debate. So when we were supposed to record last week,
Yeah.
I have a Buddy Christ t-shirt.
Oh, nice.
And then I have it washed, and today I was like, man, do I do Jay and Silent Bob or do I do Buddy Christ? And I was like, no, I should do Jay and Silent Bob because it's Jay and Silent Bob.
It's the foundation of the universe.
It really is. And plus it's Kevin Smith. So
Yeah, that's true. That's accurate.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just the deep cuts to this, the whole idea how he created it's kind of funny watching Dogma in a post Da Vinci Code world
That's true.
because everyone jumped on the controversy of Da Vinci Code for throwing out the theory that Christ was had children.
Yeah.
Dogma kind of, to me, it's Dogma already kind of introduces that idea, but not that exact way
Yeah.
of he had brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah, it
well, this
alludes
is
to
funny.
the fact that it kind of alludes to the fact that she's important because she's an heir of Christ, and so
right.
they'll need her later because she's going to be important later.
she's like the, how many greats is it? The great granddaughter or grandniece or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's funny watching that because my brain is always I don't remember people freaking out over this, but man, they freaked out over Da Vinci. But that's for another day.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and I get.
It's always my favorite when Silent Bob, like we talked about, doesn't talk much. He's not completely silent. He does talk quite a bit for someone named Silent Bob. But my favorite times when he talks is always when he just quotes movies. And my favorite one is in Dogma, where he throws Ben Affleck and them off the train.
No
and he goes,
ticket.
No ticket. Oh, it makes me laugh every time because I love that movie.
One of my favorite moments of Silent Bob's and Dogma is actually the very end, after God has shown up and taken care of everyone. But Silent Bob still has all of the blood on his hands. And Jay shows up, and Bob does the
Yeah, pantomime's death.
Yeah, the sweet moment that whole finale is showing, and just having Bob pantomime bloody hands, and tongue, and everything. It's one of those details that you and I mention quite a bit.
Yeah,
it's one of those that I love, absolutely love.
Yeah, yeah. I really enjoy. We talk about Kevin Smith as a director and a writer, but I really enjoy him as Silent Bob and his physical acting. That's almost all facial expressions and just looking and nodding, and he's so funny.
It's so funny, and for some reason it adds quite a bit.
Yeah.
To what is happening.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I remember after I saw Dogma, this was one of those movies where I was like, Mom, Dad, you have to watch this. And I did recommend Dogma to probably too many people. And I had more than half of those people tell me how offensive this movie was and how they just couldn't get through it. And I was like, You all missed the point.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly don't think it's offensive. I mean, I guess if you take things too seriously, but then that is the point. You're taking it too
Right.
seriously.
You didn't even read the disclaimer at the
There's a
beginning
whole
of the movie.
disclaimer. Like,
It's
he
the
tells
first
you.
thing you see.
Yeah. Just, dear people that will take this too seriously, please don't take it seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just... And also, like, Rufus...
Yeah,
I
Chris
feel
Rock.
he's such a, like... I just lost the word. Underappreciated character.
Underrated.
Underrated, thank you. Yeah, when he shows up as, like, almost right out off the bat, he shows up,
Yeah.
he's already making points you as a viewer should be kind of like, oh.
Yeah, most of
okay.
the strong message comes through him, and I mean, yeah, it's 1999 Chris Rock. I mean, he was a powerhouse.
Yeah. It's... They're smoking weed with Matt Damon on the train right now. Your
Nice.
no ticket scene's coming up.
No ticket.
Now, one of my favorite little tidbits of this movie, Jason Mewes was famously hard to work with because of his drug addictions.
Okay.
Had a hard time memorizing lines on all of his films as Jay. And he has several. For someone who couldn't memorize lines and had a hard time showing up for production, he has a lot to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with Dogma, well, okay, I have two favorite tidbits, both involving Alan Rickman.
Okay.
So Jason Mewes was so nervous about letting Alan Rickman down, he memorized the entire script.
Oh wow.
Yeah, just so that he wouldn't let Alan Rickman down. Which they never really... I think they only have one scene, not
Yeah.
even directly to each other. But I'm like, man, that... Alan Rickman, I miss that guy.
That's
I miss
honor,
his
yeah.
movies. Another fun tidbit, when Rickman read the script, I guess he asked Smith, are you filming this verbatim? And will the wings be real or CGI? Apparently, Rickman did not want to make the movie if it was going to be, if like the dialogue, if all of it was going to end up getting changed or cut out. He wanted to make what he was reading.
Nice.
Which I'm like, man, if Alan Rickman, who is Hollywood royalty,
Yeah.
falls in love with this film,
Yeah.
and it's this kind of film,
Yeah. That's a huge
that should
compliment
tell
to his writing.
general audiences, yeah, like, hey, there's something to this story. And there really is.
There really is.
God damn it, I love this movie so much.
Yeah. It's so good.
I like that we both have it playing right
Yeah.
now.
The shit monster just came out.
Oh, okay, so I'm a little bit ahead of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now,
Do you have any more? Oh, all right.
I think we can move on. So Jay
Yeah.
and Silent Bob Strike Back.
This was the first Kevin Smith movie I watched.
Yeah, it's the first one that I like remember seeing come out. I didn't watch it when it came
Yeah.
out. I probably wasn't allowed to watch it when it came out. Still, yeah, I wasn't even graduated high school yet, so no.
For good reason.
Yeah, but I do remember it coming out. I remember it looking crazy, and it is. But it's very much like that kind of early 2000s comedy that I really love now.
Yep.
Like it's
Yeah,
one of the funniest ones, I think, of his movies.
It's silly. It's stupid on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
They make fun. I mean, this was the first one that Kevin Smith went very meta on.
Right.
And like they break the fourth wall. It's such a it takes a lot of jabs at itself and at Kevin Smith.
Right.
And I actually appreciate that a lot. The first time I saw it, I thought it was hilarious. But I thought Jay was so annoying because he never shut up.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, he just never stops talking. And what he says is so stupid 90% of the time. And then I watched it again and was like, I fucking love Jay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. it made me like him more, for sure. Like, in all of the previous movies that they appear in together, he's kind of likable, but it says a lot of douchey shit. In this one, you see more of a real, like a personal, emotional inside part of him, and so that part you definitely feel like, oh, you're a real person. I totally get you now, and
right.
And so all of the like dumb stuff he says is just more endearing now.
Well, you also really start learning in Strikes Back. That's where the parody of Jay really comes through.
Yeah.
As soon as you understand he is satire on himself or on people like that, to me he becomes so much funnier when you take him as like, oh, you're satirical, you're supposed to be an over-the-top, cartoonish,
right,
just whatever.
And I think that his character seems over the top, but I've also seen people and known people that are vulgar in that way, but in a way that they talk about sex so much you know that they're probably virgins.
Right. Well, and that's not that he's a virgin, but it becomes such a huge running joke that Jay never gets laid.
Obviously no girl is going to be into that.
Right. You actually see him fall in love, although it's not traditional, but that's kind of what makes it better.
Yeah, it's cute.
And it's cute. Boo boo kitty fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay, I really enjoy Strikes Back. It's just so much fun. Again, it's a blast to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And I love all the little jabs it takes at itself. I love the jabs it takes at the internet because it was early 2000s. So they what the fuck is the internet? And Ben Affleck his summary of what the internet is.
Yeah.
For being early 2000s,
still accurate.
Is the most accurate thing ever.
Yeah, it still is.
Just,
20 years later.
Not unanimously, anonymously berate each other and hate on each other from the confines of their mom's basement. It's so good.
Yeah.
They just go online and shit on people in movies that they feel like shitting on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's awesome. It's one of the most fun, especially if you've been watching all the movies up to this point, because everybody makes an appearance. Like both of the characters from Chasing Amy make an appearance, and both the characters from Clerks make an appearance, and then they start adding in kind of like celebrity cameos with like Will Ferrell, and
Will Ferrell is awesome.
Yeah, and I'm sure that half the reason Kevin Smith made this movie was so that he could have Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher be in it.
Yes. Which, their cameos, I love. Carrie Fisher as the nun.
Yeah.
Giving them a ride and follows the
book.
Yeah. It's such a... so good.
Yeah.
And then Mark Hamill as Cock Knocker.
Yeah. The evil villain.
I love when they use the bong/dildo sabers.
Yeah.
And Hamill has that moment of oh, someone's gonna get sued for it. And it's such a great joke that Jay and Silent Bob, the whole movie is them on a mission to stop a movie being made about them.
Yeah.
As they're making a movie about themselves. The meta humor, folks, it's awesome.
Yeah. It's really, really good. Yeah, and Will Ferrell is the wildlife warden. Shane Elizabeth, Elisha Dushku, and Ali Ward are all these female diamond thieves. And
Sean William Scott cameo.
Scott. Yeah. Judd Nelson is in it as the sheriff, and Jon Stewart. My favorite, though, Wes Craven filming a Scream movie with
Good Will
Elijah
Hunting.
Dusko. Yeah, and it's like an orangutan comes out of the ghost face costume. He's like, everybody loves animals. What do you do?
Really, Wes?
Yeah. But yeah, the Good Will Hunting
the
sequel.
Good Will Hunting 2 hunting season.
Yeah, so very meta, very Hollywood. It's such a funny movie.
It's great, especially after like you're a little bit older and you know how fucked up Hollywood actually is, because they make several jokes that you're like, could that have been a real thing? Is this still happening?
Right.
No, no, there's not a dead hooker in my trailer.
Yeah.
But Affleck was the bomb in Phantoms, yo.
Yeah, and Jason Biggs and James Vanderbeek as Jay and Silent Bob.
Yep.
Absolutely so funny.
Yeah, it's just... Strikes Back is one of those movies where I enjoy it more and more as time has gone by. It's just non-stop jokes throughout that whole movie.
Yeah,
and
I see people describe it as like, I think it's you're downplaying it or doing it an injustice to say that it's just a stoner comedy. I think that it's so much more. It's not just like dumb jokes about like being high. It's like everything. Movies, comics.
I mean, it definitely has all the dumb jokes about
being
high, but it's such a good satire. It's such a good like love letter to silly Hollywood things. I mean, the Scooby-Doo gang shows up at one point.
The literal Scooby-Doo gang. Yep.
It's just, it has so many fun moments, and the clit gets brought up.
Right. That's right.
Look at that. I remembered to go back to...
Yeah. That's true. That's where the clit comes from.
I am the clit master.
They're a terrorist organization that free animals, allegedly.
Right. And they go through Boulder, Colorado. Right?
Yeah.
Isn't it Boulder?
It has to be. Yeah, I believe it is. It's hilarious. And they go try to free some orangutans, which is just a setup for stealing diamonds across
diamond
the
heist.
street.
Yeah.
It's such a good movie.
It really is. It really is.
So changing gears, though, we really change gears now with Jersey Girl.
Yes, we do.
Which is not funny, really. It's pretty serious.
It has some funny moments. It has more endearing moments than it has
It's a cute,
funny.
It's a cute family movie, basically.
For the most part. I thought about watching it with my daughter, and then the whole thing with the dad renting porn, I was like, I don't think I would watch this with my daughter.
I just remember that. Yeah, that does happen. So not so much. I mean, it's a Kevin Smith family movie, whatever that means.
Right.
It's
his first PG-13 movie.
Oh, there you go. So that's good. That's going in that direction at least.
So,
what do you think about it?
Okay, so I saw it when it first came out. So I was like junior going into senior year when it came out, or maybe senior.
Yeah.
Depending on what month it came out. Anyways, I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
We were in high school.
We were.
And I did not like it when I saw it in high school because I didn't like.
Why would you?
It is sweet. Like it is overly saturated with sweet moments, very real moments that I did not have any appreciation or respect for in high school, because why would I?
There are some very sad, very emotional, very family father-daughter moments.
Yeah. So I did not watch it until this week from 2004.
Okay. That's pretty similar to me, except that I never saw it in 2004 and I watched it the first time this week.
Okay, so then I pop it on, and I was remembering, like, I don't like this, so...
Yeah.
Okay, I guess let's see what this is.
I had always heard that it sucked. That's why I didn't watch it.
Right. Now that I'm in my 30s, and a father, who when my daughter was first born, I mean, I was a young moron.
Right.
No clue what to do. Still very selfish in a lot of aspects. Watching it this week, I was like, what the fuck? Like, oh my god, this is scary, relatable. I mean, my wife didn't die.
Yeah.
I'm not. Anyways. She didn't die, but it was very relatable just in that the portrayal of how does a man go from being so career oriented and so driven for like
success focused.
Success, yeah, thank you.
Success in the business world, not.
How do you go from that to being completely stripped down and just being a father?
Right, a family man.
Because very different responsibilities. And that kind of stuff can definitely put a huge wrench in the road, you know? Like, it really messes things up. And it's hard for men, I feel. At least, like, in my case, it's hard to come to that because we're raised with certain generational ideas. The man goes to work. The man has to, you know, you're not supposed to be super sentimental with a lot of stuff.
Right.
You need to...
And the way you provide for your family is by working and making money.
Right.
Not so much being there and raising them.
Right. And this movie really portrays, I feel, that kind of change and responsibility really well. So watching it this week, I love Jersey Girl.
Yeah.
I really do. I come from a very sentimental viewpoint now. But I think this movie's great.
Yeah. I feel the same way, and I obviously don't have a daughter and I don't have that experience, but watching it is a great movie. It's a really, really good movie that is very sweet and very honest and very honest about something that you don't really see, like you described. Not only is it about a man who has to leave his career to raise a daughter and deals with changing his mindset about that, but also he's having to deal with not being selfish anymore. Like, the reason he doesn't want to do that is not because he thinks that he should, it's because that he wants to. He's lived his whole life trying to be this thing and achieve this goal and reach this level, and now that's kind of taken away, and starts out being very bitter towards this baby who doesn't have any, like, it's not his baby's fault.
Right.
And so he's kind of mad at her, and that's, I think, something that I'm sure a lot of people have felt that you don't see a movie say very often.
Yeah, his character, he does a great job of showing, like, he deeply loves his child, but there's this resentment that seems to always be lingering there, and he's just constantly trying to process how to kind of get over feeling resentful, and that it's not an easy thing. And George Carlin plays his dad. Yeah, George Carlin is my favorite part of the whole movie. Yeah, he is so good.
He's like the perfect guy to play an old, borderline alcoholic dad who is still a sweet man who will raise your kid for you while you're getting your shit together. And
he's super wise. He doesn't bullshit. He doesn't beat around any bush.
Blue collars, just sweeping streets.
Yeah, it's just, I feel Jersey Girl deserves a lot more credit.
100%.
It took me off guard knowing that I hated it so much, and then watching it now, it was a very like, oh man, this is a reminder of how drastically my life has changed over the last however long, 15, 16 years.
Yeah, it's really crazy, and it's really, really good. It's really interesting, especially watching it in 2021 so it came out when Ben Affleck and J-Lo were like a thing.
Okay.
And Jennifer Lopez was in his movies playing his wife, and he was in her music videos, and they were like in love.
Right.
Now in 2021,
so we should also...
they're back together.
This was not timed for this. This
No.
is just funny.
I found this out like literally the other day, and I was like, "You're kidding me! I just saw her with him in a movie."
The whole reason, like, she's not on any promotional material for Jersey Girl was because they had just broken up.
Oh no!
And there was supposed to be like a full wedding scene between them. That got completely axed because they had just broken up. So
that's hilarious.
That's why she's only in the movie for such a short time and dies. Very much like, get her out of here.
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty fun and funny for that reason.
But it is
sure.
funny that we're in 2021 and I don't follow celebrity stuff,
right?
But there's a lot of times where you can't avoid all of it completely. I mean, social media gets saturated with celebrity gossip like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
And yeah, when I
Ben
saw
and J-Lo
that,
are a big deal.
I just started laughing when I saw that. And I was like, oh, God. Oh, God.
It's the...
Geely 2's going to come out.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. Geely strikes back.
But yeah, I think Jersey Girl, I think especially if you are a parent,
Yeah.
I feel Jersey Girl is one that parents should watch just because you're going to relate to a lot of it.
Yeah.
Whether you're male or, a mom or dad, I feel there's a lot in it that's very relatable. And I almost wonder if people don't like it because it kind of shows
Yeah.
the portrayal, and a very honest portrayal
Right.
of being forced to change your responsibility and priority.
Yeah. It does say things in a very honest way, and to the point where he yells at his daughter and tells him that he's like resents her and is mad at her, and really it digs into her so much that you're like, you feel you're not supposed to say that. Like, you're not supposed to say that. This movie's not supposed to say that. I'm not supposed to feel this. And so I could certainly see people saying, like, no, too real. But
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting, especially, a little isolated. I haven't been in that experience, but yeah.
But yeah, I love Jersey Girl. I think it deserves way more credit than it gets.
And not just from a family perspective and parents relating to their kids, but I think it's also does a good job on the romance side of him.
Yeah.
His wife died, and he's kind of starting up a new relationship with Liv Tyler, and that's really cute, and I think that works really well, too. So it's a good movie all around.
I like their storyline together, their relationship,
Yeah.
way more than I do their relationship in Armageddon.
Yes. It feels more genuine, for sure.
It really does.
I would say Kevin Smith's better than, what's his face?
Michael Bay.
Michael Bay, thank you. I kept wanting to say Jerry Bruckheimer, and I knew that wasn't it.
I mean, Bruckheimer produces a lot of Bay films, but...
That might be why.
Moving on. All right.
So,
Clerks 2.
Clerks Dos.
So Kevin Smith returns to where it all started.
In vivid color.
In vivid color, and this was supposed to be kind of the original conclusion to his View Askew universe.
Okay.
I love Clerks 2, first and foremost. I think it's one of my favorite friendship films.
Okay.
Like, portrayals of friendship.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a funny way that Kevin Smith does this, because it's so vulgar for so long, and then he smacks you in the mouth out of left field with super sentimental moments right at the end.
Yeah. A lot like the Adam Sandler movies, I felt.
Right. Yeah, I love Clerks 2. I was so excited when it was coming out. And what I was most excited about was Jason Mewes. This was post-rehab, so he was clean.
And they make
for
jokes
quite
about
a while
that.
now. Yeah. And I really feel I love Jay in Clerks 2 probably the most out of all the films, just because, yeah, he's clean now. He makes jokes about like kind of how he had to get clean.
Yeah.
But he becomes, to me, a lot more confident in his obscenities now that he's sober. And I kind of really like that.
I could see that, for sure.
Like, when you meet them again, you get the title card, you know, the new and improved Jay and Silent Bob, and it's almost the exact shot from when you first meet them in Clerks, where Jay's rocking out and doing, like, mosh pit fight dance stuff. And then it goes to him selling weed to a couple guys, and it's like, you should read your Bible, son. You know Jesus was a Jew?
Yeah.
And it's funny hearing them talk about that post-Dogma.
Yeah.
Because you know that Jay and Silent Bob know
They learn some shit.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah. God looks a lot like Alanis Morissette. Did you know that?
Right. But yeah, I love Clerks 2. I think it's hilarious from the get-go. I love the idea that Randall and Dante go from one shitty job right to another one.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of what they know, and that's, as much as they resent it,
Right.
that's their comfort level, so they stick with it. And I find humor in that, especially with those two characters.
Yeah. I think that it fits the characters so well, because they've always been the kind of people that are comfortable doing something they know. They don't really aspire to much, and they like the job, and the worst part of the job is the customers. They don't. If they didn't have any customers and they could just chill out and flip burgers and goof off all day, it would be perfect.
It would be great.
Yeah, which I kind of admire in a weird way, because I like that too.
But then they get all of their goofy customers, which includes a handful of cameos.
Yeah, the Ben Affleck one is really funny. I love the Jason Lee one especially. Is hilarious.
Jason Lee shows back up. Yep. What did you think about Clerks 2?
I like it. I think it's funny. I think a lot of the parts from the original that work are done well again. Obviously, Dante and Randall are hilarious. I love Randall, and I love the new kid. The new kid that they like razz constantly, who's like religious but also kind of a closet freakazoid.
You can tell that he's got a lot of he needs to get quite a bit out. He should probably be in therapy.
Yeah, 100%. For sure. So all that's really funny. I like Rosario Dawson. I think that she's funny. I'm not in love with the story. It's kind of just a rehash of too on the nose rehash of Clerks, where Dante again can't choose between these two girls. I think that I like how he professes his love for Rosario Dawson. Obviously, he knocked her up, so he's a little bit more connected to her. But I think they obviously work better. He shouldn't be in the relationship he's going to marry, so it works out in the end. But it's a little bit too, I guess, easy to tell the same story again. But I
can see that.
A lot of it's funny, and that part is not the big part of it. My favorite parts, obviously, is Randall and everybody goofing off.
Whatever, you totally like the donkey show at the end.
I was watching it. I was like, "How far is this gonna go?"
It goes pretty far.
It goes pretty far.
It goes pretty far.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see your viewpoint on like a little too easy on rehashing the Dante love triangle kind of storyline again. I feel this one has a lot more heart to it, because Dante is kind of for the first time actually feeling like the romantic love for someone.
Right.
But I feel his original fiance is kind of personification of the safe, the comfort.
Right.
Kind
He's
of stuff.
going to have everything, a job that he doesn't really have to work at handed to him, a house that he doesn't have to buy handed to him,
Yeah.
So yeah,
he doesn't actually like love her. It's just she's a safe option. She's an option that was okay with him.
Right.
But to me, like, it's kind of funny. For as much as the movie focuses on Dante and Rosario Dawson, or Dante and his fiancée, like I said earlier, I don't see the movie as so much of a romantic film. I really view the movie as, like, friendship.
Yeah.
So it really focuses on, like, Jay and Silent Bob, every scene they're in, you can tell there's a lot deeper connection between those two now. Haven't been forced to go to rehab.
Right.
Because they drove with a deployed airbag. That's the actual story.
That's amazing.
But especially with Dante and Randall.
Yeah, for
when
sure.
they're in jail and Randall finally blows up
Yeah.
and has a very real moment.
What the fuck, dude? We're supposed to be friends.
That's like my favorite part of the movie, because
Yeah.
to me it gives Randall complete credibility through everything. Because he's constantly just been like trying to fight to get kind of the same reciprocation of friendship from Dante that he keeps trying to put in.
Right.
And Dante keeps, without realizing it, not necessarily rejecting it, but kind of passing him over.
Yeah.
I love that Randall finally blows up and Dante has to be... He's kind of forced to like, oh, okay. I guess I've been kind of a
Yeah.
shit friend.
He's been
or
taking
like,
his friend for granted that he'll always be there and he's comfortable and doesn't have to work towards that relationship either.
Right, right. And it's... The way Clerks 2 concludes, to me, makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And had it been the conclusion to the View Askew universe, it would have been a pretty goddamn good conclusion.
Yeah.
It really
I didn't know that going into it, but now that you mention it, that makes a lot of sense. I could totally see that.
Yeah. But it's full of so many good jokes. One of my favorite lines in the whole movie actually comes from Jay, where he's talking with Silent Bob in the background, as he always does.
Yeah.
Because Jay, did you notice he does something different in this movie? Every time he goes to talk, if it's just him and Bob, he steps right in front of the camera and almost takes like front stage,
Oh, nice.
if you will.
Yeah.
And he doesn't usually... He's always standing right next to Bob. To me, this was the one where he's like... That confidence to me really comes out.
Definitely.
Where he's like... Sometimes I kind of wish that I would have done more with my life. Like maybe become an astronaut. Find an alien life form. Fuck it.
It's such a perfect line.
It's such a great line.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but it's
so true to
good.
character.
It is.
Yeah.
Because at first you're like, oh, he's having an endearing moment. No, there it is. Or
Yeah.
the giant eat pussy spray painted on the side of the building. And Jay just looks and goes, oh, we totally do. I also feel Clerks 2 was Kevin Smith just kind of like having fun with stuff and just being really kind of abandoning a safety net.
Yeah.
And that really comes true with the whole out of nowhere and for no explanation at all, the giant dance sequence
Yeah.
that happens towards like the final act of the film.
Yeah.
Which is always a scene. It's it's choreographed great.
Yeah.
Every time I watch it, I'm like, how much weed did you have to smoke for this scene?
Yeah. Yeah. It worked.
To write this scene. But it fits, I guess.
It does.
But
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoy Clerks 2. I really do.
Yeah, I do too. So, next on the list, Zack and Miri make a porno.
Make a porno.
As if the donkey show wasn't enough.
We get... Now, I love this movie. I
Yeah.
love this movie from the very first time I saw it. It's one of my favorites. But every time I watch it, there's so many times during this movie I'm like, how in the hell
Right.
did you get greenlit for this film?
Right.
How is this not NC-17 minimum?
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of obviously weird sex stuff going on in it. I mean, it's about I think it's a peak or key Kevin Smith movie where it's so vulgar and so gross in so many parts, but at the same time it's so sweet, and maybe his best romantic movie also.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. Like, this is his best rom-com.
Yeah.
For as vulgar and...
It's a raunchy rom-com.
It's a very raunchy rom-com. And I find myself, every time I watch it, constantly thinking, would I ever be that close to any of my friends, but especially, like, the women in my life?
Right.
Where I could just tell them, hey, I'm looking up fleshlights on Amazon. I'm totally fucking buying it. Like,
right.
No. Gross.
Yeah. Yeah, Zach and Miri are obviously Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks. They are roommates, old friends who are too close to each other.
So close.
I mean, I guess they're childhood friends. They're basically brother and sister in a way, almost, which just makes it worse and even grosser. But you know what I mean.
Yep.
That's why it's like, I guess, not obvious to them that they actually love each other.
Right. This movie does actually tie into the View Askew universe, but you don't find that out until you watch Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
Yeah. I was wondering if there was another way. That's the only one that I could tell. That's
the only way that I can find.
The character who plays the lawyer in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot
Justin
is the
Long.
same. He's the same hilarious gay porn actor.
And again, the most vulgar porno titles get brought back into this movie as like the first Clerks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Zack and Miri, it's hilarious. It's so wrong.
Yeah.
But it's part
of its appeal, I think, is that it's taboo, and that's probably why so many people saw it, why it got greenlit.
Right.
Because if you see a movie called...
right, because everyone wanted to go to the theater when it came out just to be able to say, I need one for Zack and Miri make a porno.
Yeah.
Because at no other point in time are we ever going to get that chance.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's we can't talk about this movie without one of the scenes that had an audible response from the audience when I saw it in the theater.
Okay.
And every time I watch it, I still am like, oh!
Yeah.
And that's the anal scene.
Yeah.
with the cameraman viewing or recording from down below.
Don't forget I'm down here, guys.
Right. I don't care how many times anyone will ever watch this movie.
Yeah.
You react to that every time because
I'm waiting
so
for
gross.
it now. I'm like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, and it happens so fast. It happens.
You're gonna hear the pop.
It always happens. It always happens earlier than I think it will, and then it ends so quickly. But it's very impactful, and it changes your life.
It's so impactful, and you're like, oh, I guess it is good for constipation. Gross.
Yeah, you have like an obvious warning at the very beginning when she says that, and I'm like, that's not going to end well. No way.
Right, something bad's got to happen.
Yeah.
Little detail is that little pop sound you hear right before it happens.
Yeah.
I laugh pretty hard every time at that pop sound.
Yeah. No, I know what you're talking about. I can picture it in my mind.
And you gotta love the drunk guy that walks in while they're filming.
Yeah. You just see that hockey
You guys
game?
watch the game? No.
Yeah.
So, look at this, twice in an episode. I think this is the first time.
You're
ever.
really, like, are you taking some, like, what's the stuff Joe Rogan talks about? The, like, brain
No, I'm not
brain
taking
stuff?
anything. I just happen to remember.
Ginkgo biloba?
So, right. And Zach and Miri, they filmed their porno at the coffee shop after hours, where Seth Rogen's closing down all the curtains, having to shoot, and then he sleeps for a couple hours before his shift starts the next day.
This is like Clerks.
That's exactly what Kevin Smith had to do. Look at that. I remember 2 times this episode
Yeah.
to connect a dot.
Good job. I even had that thought when you said it earlier. I was like, hey, that sounds like Zach and Miri, but we're not going to get there for a while. And I'll probably forget by the time we get there.
It is.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Zach and Miri, it's so funny. Don't watch it with your family, though.
Yeah. Don't watch it with your parents. Don't watch it with anybody who's not cool.
Watch it with, like, select friends.
Yeah.
Maybe don't make it a first date movie, which, when I saw it, my wife at the time, we went to it, but we had also set up a couple of our friends together.
Yeah.
And they went and saw it. They were in the showtime right after ours.
So you knew as you were watching it, you're like,
So
oh no.
there were a couple parts where my wife at the time looked at each other, both had that look of like, oh no, what did we do?
Yeah. Yeah, married relationships are not the same as people going on real dates. You can see anything.
That setup did not go anywhere.
Oh, so that's your fault then.
Yep, it is.
That's amazing. I just like was scrolling through the cast and remembered Brandon Routh was in it, and I was like, hey, how long after him being Superman was this? It was like right after. Like he was in Superman Returns in 2006, and this was 2008, where he's like at a gay guy at a family reunion with Justin Long saying the weirdest stuff next to it.
Saying some of the worst things.
Yeah.
But it's so funny.
It is really
so
funny.
funny.
And surprisingly heartfelt. I like it a lot. I watch it a fair amount.
It is. It's although never again will we ever see a rom-com where as someone is professing their love in the same scene, they learn how to Dutch rudder someone and you watch them do it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Oh. Such a funny movie.
Unlike
his follow-up.
Yeah. So, probably the biggest reach for mainstreamness, would you say?
Yeah.
Cop Out.
Oh.
Which I don't think you'd seen it until this week. I didn't see it.
Nope.
Until
I didn't
this week.
see it until this week.
I'd like scrolled past it several times and I was like, hey, Tracy Morgan's kind of funny. So, okay, so I take that back. I don't really like Tracy Morgan. I think that he can be funny, but I think it's like few and far between.
I think he was really, really hilarious on SNL.
Yeah. In select roles on SNL. And, and that's like spread out because SNL is hit or miss. But yeah, so I think that they rely on him too much to carry this, and they rely on Bruce Willis to be the straight man. And you said an interesting thing to me about how Bruce Willis and Kevin Smith had a hard time getting along or something in this making this movie.
Yeah, they like hated each other because it turns out, and I hate knowing this because I'm a big fan of Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
It turns out Bruce Willis kind of sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it.
It turns out he's kind of an asshole on set.
I could totally see it.
Which really bummed me out. And it became, to me, it was so obvious. Okay. I hated Cop Out.
Yeah.
I didn't laugh once.
Yeah.
I just kind of stared at the screen the whole time like, you gotta watch it.
Yeah.
You gotta watch it.
Yeah. It was so obvious to me that there was no chemistry, and maybe Bruce Willis, I could tell, was uncomfortable or not feeling it, that he just wasn't in it. Tracy Morgan's trying his heart out, but then again, I don't find him that funny. And you need the chemistry, I think, in this situation. In any buddy comedy movie, you need that buddy comic chemistry.
It was just, when it ended, I seriously just kind of sat there and was like, did I really watch that?
Yeah.
And then I was like looking up production stuff on IMDb and the score and all that, and I'm like, there were some people that were saying, hey, it's hilarious, it's great, it's way better than you think, and I'm like, do you gotta be like blackout drunk or
high,
comatose high?
Yeah.
Because I could not get into this movie. Just everything about it, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. There are 2 reviews side by side on IMDb. One is 1 star. The title is This a Joke? This is supposed to be a comedy, allegedly. That's how the review starts. The next one is 10 stars, a funny homage to the action-humored films of the 1980s.
Okay, yeah, I saw that one too, and I was like, as a huge fan of buddy cop films from the 80s and the 90s,
right,
this movie does not embody anything from those.
I could see it being inspired by it, because that's pretty obvious, but it's not. It misses the mark. It's not at all achieving it. It's interesting to me that it's the only movie I think that we're talking about today that Kevin Smith did not write. It was written by
he just directed it.
2 other brothers, I assume, Rob Cullen and Mark Cullen.
But it was, I was not a fan of Cop Out. It
was rough.
It really was rough. It was so rough.
Yeah.
Hi, God.
She looked like Alanis Morissette.
Exactly. It's crazy.
That's amazing. Okay.
Oh my God. How did we not... Okay,
What?
I have to, just because the scene is playing.
Okay.
The end of Dogma,
Uh-huh.
because obviously you can't have a movie where God is a central character show up.
Yeah.
You can't have that kind of movie and someone not ask God, why are we here? What's the meaning of life? Because apparently that's all we're really concerned on learning.
Yeah, I guess.
I love the answer of just the boop. and then she runs off and does a cartwheel.
Yeah.
Horribly.
Yeah.
Every time I'm like, such a good answer. Back to Cop Out.
Yeah.
What a shitty movie.
All right. We can move on from Cop Out. I don't have anything else to say. Don't watch it.
It was bad. Don't watch it.
Not worth it. No, there is like one joke later in the series that mentions Cop Out, but it's not really even... It's not like Chasing Amy, where there's several references. It's worth seeing.
No, it's just Kevin Smith made that Cop Out movie.
Yeah.
Ugh, fuck Cop Out.
Yeah.
There's something like that.
all you need to know is it sucks and you'll get the joke.
Yeah.
But Red State.
Okay.
What
so
do you
he went
think?
very
Mainstream?
mainstream with Cop Out.
Yeah.
And then he goes very independent horror thriller with Red State.
Yeah, things are starting to get very interesting now in the in the movie verse, because the next 3 movies are very different.
Yeah. Red State is really intense.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I really enjoy it. I think it was a smart project for Kevin Smith to do, because I like it when filmmakers, actors, all of those, when they kind of step out of their known style.
Yeah. Kind of
and
resets.
they pull off something very different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to rewatch it this week. I found it, but ran out of time.
Okay.
But I still remember a decent amount of it. And I remember first time watching that movie, I was just like, when it ended, just being like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But in like the kind of way you want to have that response to when you watch that style of movie.
Right.
Very intense film. Unlike anything Kevin Smith has ever done to date, in my opinion. I enjoyed Red State.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's probably in my top 3 of his. partly because it's so different. It's really interesting to see him make that. I think that he gets his writing, he gets certain details and certain truths that I think he can do a horror type story very well. And I think that, and it shares a lot of things kind of with what made the Dogma story so good. It kind of elevates and blows up the concept of belief and the dangers of belief and things like that, and how you can believe too hard and dehumanize people, not just in religion. Obviously, the big part of it is this cult that is very, very much like the Westboro Baptist Church, kind of a combination of Westboro Baptists and Branch Davidians in Waco. They have this belief in dehumanize gays and all these kinds of people, but it goes beyond that. I think it goes beyond that to politics, politics and cops, and if you go the other way, that's the most interesting thing to me about Red State is the first 45 minutes or so, you are 12,000% against these people because they are terrible. Everything they say is terrible, and they're absolutely the worst. But then the cops start doing things and making choices and killing these people and going against the law and like everything that justice stands for, and how you should like process that stuff. And you're like, what? How did you make me all of a sudden feel bad for them, and that the cops are wrong or worse off than these people who were super shitty and super rude and mean, but they weren't killing people without a trial and all this stuff. So it's like, I think that's interesting and an interesting difference. I really like John Goodman in it, and how he kind of wraps it up at the end. His like interview with those other ATF guys who are, again, driving home the message that no, the police are just as shitty or more shitty. But the way that he describes it and why he chose to go against orders and all that stuff, it's really, really good and really, really worth watching. I like it.
It's a tough one to find.
Yeah. It used to be on Netflix.
It used to be. I found it on Shudder.
Okay.
So check it out on Shudder. Real difficult to find if you're trying to find a physical copy. I couldn't find one.
Interesting.
I tried. I talked to a couple cashiers at a local FYE, which I didn't think FYE even existed anymore. But there's one just like 20 minutes from me. It was crazy.
Oh, wow.
And I was talking to the cashiers there, and they were like, yeah, we've had a few people ask about it. Like, we've heard of it. And trying to explain what Red State is very difficult because it's a lot deeper of a film than what you kind of initially think.
Right.
You gotta find it. You gotta watch it, especially if like you want to see something different from Kevin Smith.
Right.
This is probably your best bet to watch. Of course, have something happy on hand right afterwards because it's not a feel-good film.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, it's raw and brutal, but I think it shines for him, especially because it has that honesty in it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's a cool movie.
Yeah. So now that he's a horror director
and a comedy director.
And a comedy director.
And during the Human Centipede giant hype.
That's right.
Hollywood pop culture.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's true.
We get possibly the most ridiculous movie I have seen.
Not possibly. Absolutely.
Now
it's a movie that
go ahead.
It's a movie that defies explanation. You can't put it in a genre, really.
So this is one of those movies where the genre can be whatever, and it works because the movie is so fucking weird.
Yeah.
that when it ends, you really just kind of walk away with like, huh?
What the fuck? Yeah. But it does it so well. So we're talking about
about Tusk.
And we've mentioned Tusk before in the past, mostly because it's one of the weirdest movies Christy's ever seen, and she has brought it up in the past. It's a weird movie.
I don't even know. It's so odd. If you don't know what Tusk is about,
yeah, I'm excited
Justin
to hear you explain
Long
it.
Plays a podcaster, a successful podcaster.
Unlike us.
Hey, we'll get there.
Justin Long and Haley Joel Osment, which is hilarious.
Right, which is hilarious. He goes to Canada to interview a kid who accidentally chopped his leg off, making a Vine video.
Yeah.
But the guy he goes to interview kills himself, so Justin Long ends up finding this old man who has a crazy story to tell.
Yeah.
And then he gets turned into a walrus.
Okay. You kind of skipped over a bunch, but yeah, that's accurate. He does get turned into a walrus.
I didn't really skip. He goes to interview the old man and then turns into a walrus.
And then he gets turned into a walrus. Yes, that's true. Yeah, it's so funny. It also kind of starts the Canada sub-saga where Kevin Smith is ripping on Canada. So Justin Long goes to Canada, and they have a lot of funny jokes about Canadians, and the funniest like part rewatching it is all of the like subtle hints and stuff. First of all, the Justin Long's character's name is Wallace.
Yep.
Wallace the Walrus. And he has this mustache that's just a mustache, and it very much looks like a walrus mustache. Like, if I had no beard, just a mustache, it looks hilarious, and it's foreshadow at the same time.
It's like, I don't even know if it constitutes foreshadowing, because that's the crazy thing about Tusk. You know exactly what's going to happen if you've seen just the cover of the movie.
Yeah.
Now, what you don't know is the final design, and if anything, that's what you should watch the movie for.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane, honestly. It's really uncomfortable, in a way, to see. Very much like Human Centipede. So now that you mention it, I totally get that sort of reference. But yeah. It's interesting. The main villain, Michael Parks, he's also the main villain, the pastor guy in Red State. He's incredible. Like, he's so scary.
Yeah, no, he's really good.
So scary, so good. But yeah, he's just this old guy who has this vision, this wish, this dream to revive a walrus that had saved him as a sailor, and get his vengeance on this walrus and fight this walrus in another walrus suit. And they have a walrus battle. And he's tried this several times. So the best part is he's tried this several times. He cuts off Justin Long's legs. He puts him in a walrus suit.
Made from human skin and faces.
And puts him in this exhibit, like a zoo exhibit where there's water all around. Forces him to learn to swim. Forces him to eat mackerel fish. And when he goes to swim in the water, he sees corpses of other people that has been tied up and turned into walruses unsuccessfully.
People, this is the movie.
Yeah, verbatim.
You need to see it because this is actually how the movie goes.
Yeah.
And yes, they have a pseudo walrus fight. It's not very long, but they have a walrus fight.
He wants him to fight to the death, essentially.
Yeah.
It's really about, does Justin Long have the will to live as a walrus or not? And
it's such a
it's crazy,
goddamn weird movie.
Yeah.
But so the yoga hosers.
Yeah.
They show up, or yoga hosers, whatever.
Yeah, yoga
Hosers.
hosers.
They're in it. But my favorite is the uncredited, for actually kind of an important big role.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp plays a detective.
A French-Canadian
in this movie.
detective.
A French-Canadian detective.
Guy Lapointe.
He's uncredited.
Well, he's credited in yoga hosers.
In yoga hosers, but not in Tusk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just...
He's the investigator that has found that other people have gone missing and is trying to figure out why they don't have legs below the knees and why their arms are like in a T-Rex Christ pose. And it's really funny. He's doing a really funny accent. He's doing like only Johnny Depp can do, where he's got like prosthetics on, and it's like when he was in Jump Street, and
right.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's you gotta if nothing else, you have to watch Tusk just for the ridiculousness of it.
I remember like being so uncomfortable the first time I watched it, and rewatching it this week, which is the first time I've seen it since the first time. I was like, this is actually a really good movie, honestly. Like, it is uncomfortable, but once you know what's coming and it's not as off-putting, there's a lot of value and interestingness to it. It's very well put together.
It's one of those movies that should not be as entertaining as it actually ends up being.
Yeah.
But although I've seen it a few times, I still leave knowing everything that's going to happen and everything I'm going to see. I still, when the credits roll, I'm still left just kind of like, yep, all right. What do I watch after
tear
that?
rolls down his face.
Like, give him the treat.
Yeah. Yeah, and that scream. No. That scream haunts my dreams. Honestly. You do it too well. I feel like you've been practicing it. It's also funny. It was funny, like, watching Justin Long and Haley Joel Osment be podcasters now that we've kind of, like, gotten kind of comfortable in it. They have a podcast where it's called The Nazi Party, but it's
N-O-T
space S-E-E, like not I have not seen it kind of thing. Nazi Party. It's really funny because when he goes missing and his girlfriend calls and it's just like, his picture's on the website, it's naziparty.com, and the cops hang up. I had the thought, I was like, this would happen to us. They'd be like, Jake's missing, go to movieboners.com. Hello? Hello? Yeah, so that's probably going to happen.
Possibly. We should update the photos on the website.
Yeah. Just in case we ever get kidnapped.
By a crazy old man that wants to turn us into an animal.
That would be the worst.
Yeah, Tusk is one of those movies I feel like I would want to watch at a big, like, watch party.
Yeah.
Just and not even watch the movie, but just watch everyone else watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd want to do two things. I'd want to go to an event where everybody that's going has seen it and loves it.
Yeah.
That would be
kind of like a cult screening or something.
Yeah. That'd be hilarious and weird. But I mostly want to be in a room full of people that have never seen it before.
Yes.
and
just to see their faces.
Yes. Absolutely. That would be amazing.
We should try and do that.
We should. Maybe this will be the movie that we have a public viewing or something for.
Maybe.
Or we should tell people, if you haven't seen it and it sounds interesting, record yourself watching it and send it to us. Or send us your reaction or something, because it is crazy.
I guarantee you probably heard Jake talking about stuff and going, no way.
Yeah, that's not real.
Yes way.
There's no movie like that. Yeah. Call in, leave us a voicemail, tell us what the fuck is up.
All right. I did not see this one.
You haven't seen Yoga Hosers? Okay.
No.
Slightly less weird, but still up there with
Okay.
weirdness. Do you know anything about it?
Not really. I know that it's like universally despised.
It shouldn't be. It's
Okay.
It's more fun. Wow, yeah, it has a 23 Metascore. I think that's 23 out of 100. That's not great. It's different. It's kind of fun. There's kind of there's parts of it that are kind of forced millennial, where there's a social media aspect, and every time a character is introduced, they'll have like their social media page come up on the screen with like likes and facts and posts and stuff. So it's very much about these teenage girls in Canada who are all about their cell phones. They're clerks, essentially. They're the yoga hosers that work at the A to Z convenience store in Canada. It's really funny. So I knew that Kevin Smith's daughter, Harley Quinn Smith, is in it. I didn't know that the other girl was Johnny Depp's daughter until I just looked at the cast, Lily Rose Depp. So that's really funny. But yeah, the story is crazy, potentially more crazy than Tusk, but just less less gross.
Okay.
It falls very much in the same aesthetic. I don't know if I want to tell you so much about it because there are some weird... You need to see it. You need to see it, and
I need to see it.
And we'll do a little clip on the YouTube about...
That's what we'll do.
About what you thought.
I will try to... I've got, like... This week is fun. Mm-hmm. So, for everyone... For the first time in quite a while, I am watching nothing but movies I have not seen yet. I watched one of the ones you told me to watch.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you which one yet.
Okay.
I watched that this morning. It was odd.
Okay. Yeah, I gave you a couple of movies that we're going to deep dive into for a future episode. So we'll let listeners
I'm going to
know.
have to rewatch it, I think, because...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not often...
But we'll get into that.
It's not often that I've seen a movie you haven't seen, and so it's interesting for you, I think, to watch new movies.
Right.
That I've told you
Which
are good.
is
that
crazy,
may or may not be good, but we'll see.
But I am definitely going to add Yoga Hosers. I really wanted to get this one watched because all the bad reviews and everyone has said like it's just one of the worst things ever made. That's kind of intriguing to me to be like,
yeah,
well, I kind of need to see it.
Yeah. By comparison, Tusk has a 55 meta score. So Yoga Hosers is half of that, apparently. I think it depends on the attitude you go into it with. If you go into go in with the attitude that you want to see some crazy shit and some weird CGI, it's going to be funny. And if you liked Tusk, I think you would like Yoga Hosers.
Sounds good. Yeah, don't tell me too much. I'll watch it.
We'll let you know. Oh, and there's a cameo in it that you will like. I audibly said, "Holy shit!" when he came on screen.
Oh, okay.
So I'll see if you catch that one. So we'll let listeners know when that's on the YouTube.
Sounds good.
So, last movie, Jay and Silent Bob
reboot. What'd you think?
I had also not seen it until this week. It was fun. It was fun. It was fun getting back to that main cast, the Jersey Chronicles or whatever you call it. At the same time, a lot of time has passed since early 2000s, late 90s, and everybody is old. The jokes and references are fun, but at the same time, maybe a little forced. It's fun and funny for sure. It's not as good as Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, though, for sure. I feel like they save all of the cameos for the end when they have the convention, so there's like a lot really quickly, and they probably should have spaced it out a little bit more. But I really liked the kind of the whole chasing Amy tie-in at the end, and also when Ben Affleck's character talks about his daughter there, and that's Jason Mewes' daughter, and like she's in the movie, like Harley Quinn's in the movie. There's a lot to like about it, especially if you're a big Kevin Smith fan, but it's middling as far as overall quality, I think.
Yeah, I was super excited for it. I went into it knowing, obviously, everyone's old. Like, everyone's tired at this point, just because they're all way older than they were 25 years ago, or, 21 years ago.
Yeah.
You said something earlier with Clerks 2 that I feel like, I thought I was expecting you to say with this.
Okay.
Where, how Dante, the storyline of Dante having to choose between two women was kind of like, maybe don't rehash the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Well, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot is that exact same thing, where it's pretty much the exact storyline as Strike Back. But now it's them trying to fight off the reboot of Blunt Man versus Chronic.
I agree. The only reason I don't care is because they literally say in the movie, this is the exact same thing, we're rebooting it, or they go through the remake, reboot, sequel thing.
It goes even heavier on like the meta jokes than it did in Strikes Back.
Yeah.
I enjoy it though. I do find a lot of it very fun and enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Very endearing. I really like seeing Jay suddenly having like everything he's ever known kind of be forced to change because he finds out, I'm a dad and I'm meeting my 18-year-old daughter for the very first time.
Right.
But he's not allowed to tell her that he's her dad, so he's trying to like, how do I impart fatherhood onto her without her knowing that I'm her dad, and she's gonna hate me? So I really, really like it. I think it's my favorite part of it, that Kevin Smith gave Jason Mewes a lot of room to really like show the most human side of Jay that we've ever seen. This more grown up, matured version, even though he's not completely, because I mean, the movie opens up with them getting busted for having a weed shop, but disguised as fried chicken.
I think that's totally
enjoy
accurate.
Reboot though.
That's totally accurate. I agree.
But yeah, there's a lot of. I think Reboot only works if you have seen all the previous films. If you have never seen those and you watch Reboot, you'll hate it because you're not going to get any of the jokes that are in it.
Right. Yeah, it's suddenly Kevin Smith, who has always loved Star Wars, has become Star Wars, where where this movie is now member berries about these other things and doing the same thing but different, or having the same, like the Jason Lee comic shop like thing, which was very much like the Ben Affleck introduction of the internet thing in Strikes Back. A lot of it is redone or remade, but that's also the point. That's the joke of the movie, and honestly,
making fun of reboots and remakes.
Yeah, honestly,
which I appreciate that joke of it
for sure.
I think it's a good like jab at Hollywood's mentality with film.
Yeah, and like you said, there are so many huge Kevin Smith fans that there very much could be a convention like that with all of these people who are massive.
There really could be. Well, I find myself like, man, if they ever did like a big convention where Kevin Smith was like, hey fans, come to this and we're going to I'd probably try to find a way to get there, because I'd be like, hell yeah, I'd like to be in a Kevin Smith film.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be cool.
Yeah. It's a fun movie. Like, there's definitely nothing that wrong with it.
Yeah. I think the only thing is, like I said, is if you've never watched the rest of his stuff, you're not going to get the jokes for 99% of the movie.
Right.
You just won't.
Right.
There's so many references. There's so many so many references
Mm-hmm.
to everything. It's almost like he was trying to culminate and make Reboot his finale.
Yeah.
Almost.
That is kind of what it seems like. It's kind of tying it all up in a bow, bringing you all back, having the nostalgia. It's like the end of a TV series where you have
Right.
all of the, hey, remember where we came from kind of thing.
And probably one of my favorite little callbacks to the jokes, but now it's updated, is actually with Ben Affleck,
Yeah.
where him playing Holden McNeil talking to Jay and Silent Bob about Ben Affleck.
Being
And
Batman.
He says, being Batman. But Affleck was the bomb as Batman, yo. Yo, Batfleck like a motherfucker. Like, yes!
Which I appreciate, because he's the best Batman.
He's so good. God damn it, Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Reboot has a lot of heart to it. I think that might be what may have been a little off-putting, because I've noticed the more heartfelt his finales are, there tends to be a lot of people that are kind of like, oh, why? I actually kind of appreciate when he does that.
Yeah.
I think he sums things up really well when he has those heartfelt moments.
Yeah. I think I'm not there for just a silly movie. I really like the silliness parts of it, but I like that he can balance it maybe better than anyone, of extreme ridiculousness and also very sincere and real sincerity, niceness, messages that have meaning and are relational. So I like those things combined for sure.
Oh yeah.
So I like Kevin Smith.
Reboot's a pretty good way for him to finish that.
Yeah.
The Jersey Chronicles, if that's actually the end.
Well, actually, I don't think so, because I just saw, it's in pre-production, Clerks 3. Or it's announced, I guess, not in pre-production.
Well, shit. I'll watch it.
Announced according to IMDb, as if they know what's going on.
We'll see if it actually goes into...
Yeah.
Because they've been, stating that Mallrats 2 was going to be coming out, and then that never happened.
Interesting.
But, I mean, if he actually makes Clerks 3, yeah, I'll be there. I think it'd be cool to kind of see where all these characters are now, because Dante's a dad and married.
Right.
And an owner of a business with Randall.
Right. Which you kind of saw in Reboot, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. They are actually owners of it by then.
And now Jay is a father as well. So I think it'd be interesting to see if we would even see Jay and Silent Bob, and how different they would almost have to be at this point.
Right. Yeah, I think that's true.
But I guess we'll find out, because there's zero details on it.
Yeah. He's also doing a horror anthology centered around the phenomenon Kilroy Was Here. Have you ever seen that graffiti?
I just saw that.
That should be interesting, especially considering he's been doing semi-horror lately. Speaking of Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, I have watched all of the Comic Book Men on AMC show, which is like... Oh, man,
Comic Book Men was so good.
Yeah, where he has a comic book shop, The Secret Stash, and then his friends run it, basically, and he checks in with them on his podcast from time to time. And so the show is him talking to them, and they tell him stories about what happened, what interesting person came in. So that's really cool. And they have cameos in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, where they have like a panel.
And they even make a joke about like how shitty it was for AMC to cancel them.
Yeah.
I love that they run into the Clerks original cast panel, and the cast is in black and white.
The whole room is like in black and white as soon as I go into it. Yeah. That's really funny. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in it.
There is. So Kevin Smith.
That's Kevin Smith. He's a crazy guy.
I feel his films would be fun to be in, or just to see him work. I think it'd be interesting to see him, like, to be on the outside watching him direct. I think that would be really interesting to see how he handles a set.
I was picturing that a lot as I was watching his movies, primarily where he's in them as Silent Bob.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just watching him like look back and forth at people and smile. I'm like, it must be so fun to not only direct it, but to be on screen and watch them do what you told them to do, and just be there and participate with funny faces and stuff.
Right. Like, how many of those smiles or nods are character?
Yeah.
And how many are actually him, like, good take?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so you've alluded to it. I didn't rank them.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of doing, like, 10,
Yeah.
what would be your top 5? We'll just do that. We'll make it real simple.
Sounds good. I'm going to say Dogma number 1.
Yep.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back number 2. Red State number 3. Mallrats number 4. And Tusk number 5.
That's awesome. Our lists are going to be fairly similar.
Okay.
Dogma 1. Strike Back number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mallrats would be number 3 for me, actually.
Okay.
I really love Mallrats.
Yeah.
Zack and Mary. And then I would probably have to say Clerks 2 would actually be number 5. Yeah.
Interesting. You like Clerks 2 more than Clerks 1, huh?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Interesting.
Yeah, primarily just because I don't know. I like seeing the whole final act is so funny.
Mm-hmm.
How you mix a donkey show and then give like some of the most sentimental, realistic kind of. That shit's hilarious. It's so well done.
Yeah, it sure is. So when Dogma ended, I put Tusk on.
Oh my god!
I just got to the point where it's like. There you go. Oh gosh. And with that,
that'll be our fade to black.
Yeah. So I was going to mention, we just recorded a short video for YouTube. We had mentioned before that we were going to do check-ins on previous things that had come up in the podcast, but we forgot to get back to, or movies I told Dustin to watch, or Dustin told me to watch that we didn't need to see and didn't get around to. We just did the first one of those. So there's going to be additional content on the YouTube, Movie Boners on YouTube.
Yep.
We caught up with, I finally saw Promising Young Woman, so we have a very in-depth, not very in-depth, 30 minutes-ish conversation about Promising Young Woman and what we like, what we don't like, why it's weird, and so go check that out. And then
I like your summary of our little.
I'm not trying not to give too much away, but
yeah,
we thought it was weird in some ways. And then, do you want to mention the homework for next week? Which movie are we doing next week, by the way? I gave you 2. I
don't know yet.
I gave you 2.
You did give me 2.
I didn't know if you decided yet.
Well, in my attempt to just watch all of these new movies, I'm going to watch both of them. I watched one of them this morning. So I watched The Empty Man this morning. And that movie took a very different turn than what I was expecting it to take.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel I need to rewatch it to make sure I didn't miss something.
Right. Yeah, that's accurate. Yeah, so we're gonna get deep into a couple of we've been doing the individual movies episodes. We just did the Fight Club episode, which was a lot of fun. So I think we want to do some more of that. And we chose a couple of newer movies. Obviously, Fight Club's a classic, one of the best of all time.
Yep.
The Empty Man came out in 2020. Probably not a lot of people heard about it, but it is an insane movie. We're going to be doing a full episode on just The Empty Man, so go check that out. I guess we could say the other one we're going to do if we haven't decided yet. One of the next two we're doing. So you have 2 pieces of homework. Watch The Empty Man, and then go watch The Endless. Either
Endless.
Before or after. Doesn't matter. They're not connected. They're going to be 2 separate episodes. But watch The Endless, which is also very interesting.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that. And then the other few that you had mentioned you were going to watch, we'll save those for after we both get everything watched.
Sounds good. Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch not just 2 newer movies, I think, but also 2 movies that people haven't heard of, probably.
Right.
I think most people haven't heard of The Endless or The Empty Man. So check them out. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Because we're going to spoil the shit out of them.
Yeah, I feel like you can't talk about The Empty Man without spoiling the shit out of it.
Yeah.
I thought of that as I was watching it. I was like, oh man. Like,
yeah.
And I forced myself. I didn't go back to re-listen to what you had said about it. I think in our horror episode from way long ago now.
I think I kept it purposely vague. I think I was like, it's weird and crazy, and it goes a lot of different places. And I think it said if you liked The Ritual, then you would like it.
I think that is what you said. And then I refused to go on IMDb to look anything up on it while I was watching it.
Yeah.
I'll probably do the IMDb thing now that I've seen it.
Yeah.
While I watch it again, just to tie the knots. You know,
I haven't done that either. I'm curious what other people have to say about it, so I'm excited to watch it as well.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's it.
I think that's it. Is that it?
That's basically
Go watch Kevin Smith. I mean, he's funny, but don't watch him with your family.
Don't watch him with your family or anybody who is easily offended and doesn't like bad words or gross sex stuff.
Right.
But it is really funny, and also there's a lot of value and messages in his movies. And I respect anybody who's basically a normal guy who gets to make movies with his friends constantly and meet his idols like Stan Lee and
he's known for making jokes of, like, he calls all of his movies shitty.
Yeah.
He jokes about it constantly.
Yeah.
And he's always like, but they just keep giving me money, so I just keep making what I want. And I'm like, man.
Yeah.
That kind of status, and he's doing it with these styles of movies. I mean,
You're kind of a genius.
You're kind of a genius. You kind of have to give the dude...
You've unlocked the secret to the universe somehow.
He just seems like the kind of dude you would want to talk movies with.
Right.
I feel like he could end up tapping into some stuff that would blow your mind or give you a whole new perspective. We didn't talk about them because they're not movies, but if you have a chance... They're old now, so they're probably really dated. The Evening with Kevin Smith comedy specials.
Yeah.
Check those out. They're really good. They're long. They're not like stand-up comedy. They're basically lectures of him just telling stories.
It's like TED Talks about, like...
But with Kevin
movies
Smith.
And comics and stuff.
You can imagine where that goes. But check him out because he does... There's a lot of really interesting things that he talks about, but they're dated, but that's okay.
He's an insightful guy, and I think that the weed works for him. Apparently,
and he knows all about weed.
Yeah.
So that's our show. Thank you everybody for listening. What is it? Click subscribe or click the bell and subscribe on YouTube.
Sure.
Is that it?
Yep.
We're still learning. Don't judge us.
There's a bell there. I'm sure you can click it. Yeah, if you subscribe, comment, let us know what you like, what you don't like, and you can leave us a voicemail if you want, and let us know what you think about Tusk. If you take anything away from this conversation, I really want to know what you think about Tusk.
Maybe that's what we need to do one of these days, is super deep dive into Tusk, but bring Christy into it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
get her perspective.
She actually did say, I told her what we were doing, and she's like, okay, I might have to show up if I'm around to talk about Tusk, because she has a lot to say about that movie.
Because Tusk is wild.
Yeah.
All right, everyone.
All right.
Thank you for listening and watching, all that good stuff. Find us on social media.
Yep.
And
talk to you
we'll
later.
Talk to you next time.
See ya. Do your homework.
Yeah.